Friends, it is time for the September Fragrance Awards. Yes, another month has come and gone. As you get older, it seems like the months go faster and faster and faster. September was action-packed here for us. School started. I had a lot going on in my regular day job. There was a little bit of family travel. There was a lot happening. I have a whole playlist of these monthly Fragrance Awards where you can binge watch a lot of fragrance reviews in one video. So I'll link that down below. These are not all of the fragrances that I wore in September, but it's a pretty good sampling. So the first category is the best for the season. And I try not to put more than one in these categories, but I have two that I would really like to feature. The first one is my very favorite Amber tobacco fragrance. If you haven't caught my video that I posted, maybe was it last week, where I went through my whole fragrance collection, how I reorganized it and shared many that I decluttered, not all, because there were probably 30 or 40 bottles that I didn't even show in that video that I shared with my daughter and her friends. And boy, did they have a great time going through those. I had mentioned in that video that I had greatly pared back my tobacco-centric fragrances. I used to have several handfuls, and I think I'm down to maybe 3 or 4 of my favorites. And I mentioned that my very favorite is the beautiful Ambre Tabac from Daniel Josier, which is I find this to be a very, very sexy fragrance. This could have been in the sexiest category too, but I got something else for that. This is very much amber and tobacco. I believe there's vanilla in the fragrance too, but what's prominent for me is a really sort of luscious, wet kind of tobacco scent that is very round and full, as well as a gorgeous amber. The two accompany each other like they're dancing, like they're singing a duet. They're karaoke singing a duet together, and they are just wowing the audience. It is a pretty elegant, sophisticated smell, very hearty to me. You know what? I just got it. What this reminds me of? It reminds me sort of the fragrance from Guerlain called, is it Tobacco Honey or Honey Tobacco? Except I find this to be rounder, smoother, gentler overall, although it has in my mind the same sort of potency as that one does. That one, although it's beautiful, I couldn't get with it, but there was something like almost overpowering in that fragrance for me. This one is just the right amount of potency, strength, depth, and richness for me, and it just never fails. It's my very, very favorite tobacco fragrance, also accompanied with amber. And then my second pick is a newer release. And as I mentioned before, this was sent to me by Twisted Lily for review. And I like it. And it's Story of Your Life from Etat Libre d'Orange. This fragrance is one, I think that this is probably more palatable and tolerable, the Ambre Tabac, for a lot of people. This one, Story of Your Life, is for a very particular kind of person. It's in the neighborhood of if Ombre Leather from Tom Ford and Just from Andrea Mack were combined. There's something a little deep and chocolatey in here. And it's not like a candy bar chocolate. It's almost like a dark, rich, deep, almost powdered dark chocolate type of deal. And I get some leathery nuances. I don't think there's any leather in the fragrance, and I don't remember if there are any notes that give you the impression of leather, but I get this sort of soft, almost buttery, suede leather here. And something in like a deep, plummy direction. And I think there is booze. I want to say there's a rum in the fragrance. The other note that's here, and I pick it up as I spray it, is there's a bready note. I think it's brioche that's in the middle. And if you know that and you smell it, then you're like, oh, that's the sort of buttery, croissant-y nature of the note that I'm smelling. But I think it's a brioche note. And brioche is a little bit different than a croissant, but still that same sort of buttery, bready type of deal. Like I said, with some powdered cacao, a little bit of leather. There's a tiny bit of deep, dark fruitiness in here as well. I do think this is a unisex leaning fragrance. So if you're someone that purely enjoys only feminine fragrances, I would definitely suggest testing this to see if it's even like your vibe, because you may not like it at all. But these two are definitely best for the season for me. For best everyday fragrance, I also have two. Please bear with me. It's so hard to choose in these categories. I'll start off with BDK's 312 Saint Honore, which is the street in Paris that I believe the BDK boutique is on. The fragrance is supposed to be reminiscent in scent of what the boutique looks like. For me, this reminds me of an art center at the high school that I attended, which is largely made of cement and glass. And it was a fairly new building when I attended high school. So you could still smell the sort of new construction smell in the building, which I kind of like. There's something that is almost like wet cement drying here, if you're familiar with what that smells like, with a little bit of chalkiness. There's a slight tiny bit of soft floral, almost like a purpley floral, like perhaps something in the iris neighborhood. A powderiness here. The powderiness and the chalkiness are almost like the same for me. So let me just say like a chalky powderiness. And I want to say there's something like herbal aromatic in the fragrance, but the dominant thing to me is the feeling of smelling cement that is drying. And it's a very nostalgic smell for me, something that probably sounds really strange to most of the viewers if you're not familiar with that smell or wondering why anyone would want to smell that on their on their body. The other thing that it reminds me of is like wet cement. So when it first rains, the kind of smell that comes up off of, if you live in a city and the cement is really hot when it starts to rain, there's this scent that sort of emanates from the cement, but in a soft, perfumey way. There's something really nostalgic and slightly edgy about this scent without being dominant and overpowering. It is a very soft wearing scent, close to the skin, and there's sort of this level of like chic, avant-garde sophistication with this. Not for everyone, but great for me and great for everyday wear. 312 Saint Honore, absolutely unisex scent. I wouldn't say that this leans either direction, and a unique one. And then the other one is one that makes me especially happy because it's a recommendation from one of my fave viewer friends here, Jackie out in Arkansas. Hey girl, hey. We have very similar tastes and tend to like a lot of the same fragrances with, some exceptions. I mean, listen, there isn't anybody on this planet that you're going to absolutely love every scent they love and vice versa. But she and I have very, very overlapping tastes. And she recommended Omnia Amethyste from the Bvlgari line. So I've joked around about some of these bottles before, but I have to say this one in particular is absolutely beautiful in this translucent purple color. So this is an iris-centric fragrance. However, for me, it smells like it has something in the watery floral direction, maybe a hyacinth note or something like that that smells floral and clean and super fresh. But iris is one of the dominant notes here, along with heliotrope. Heliotrope usually ends. Did I take my vitamins today? Heliotrope usually lends this sort of soft powderiness to fragrances and sometimes can come across a little bit almondy. I don't get the almond nature. I do get this very soft, faint powderiness and a little bit of very delicate woodiness in the base. So it comes across like a clean floral that is very fresh, uplifting, bright, soft wearing. I have to say, shockingly, my husband did not enjoy this. I thought it was quite nice. He just was a little bit off put by it. I don't know why, but I like it. And I think that the bottle is particularly beautiful and easy, very, very easy going for day-to-day wear. I have raved and raved about this next fragrance. Oh, the category is special occasion. So I won't go on and on. This is Accento Overdose from Xerjoff. There are a number of special occasion fragrances in the September lineup, but this one stands out to me from the bottle experience all the way through the absolutely nuclear projection and longevity of this gorgeous, gorgeous fragrance. So some people are not into this because it can be a little overpowering, and it does have this sort of musky nature to it that's a little bit off-putting for some folks. I particularly like the florals in here. This is a really bright, happy, white floral fragrance for me that is balanced out by some sweetness from what I believe is just the fruity accord. I don't know exactly what fruits are in here, and I don't know if they're listed, but there is sort of this soft, sweet fruitiness in the background. But the dominant feature of this fragrance for me is a glorious white floral. Both of those are really then undergirded by this gentle woodiness and a little bit of muskiness. This is a beautiful, like bridal type of fragrance or special occasion. If you want to be the belle of the ball, it shows up and it shows out. Like this is a very, very powerful fragrance. Some people pick up a tiny bit of greenness in the scent. I can't say that I pick up a greenness, but I do pick up something that is very sort of fresh, maybe even in the aldehydic direction, that's tricking my nose into thinking it's something in that direction and it's actually green. I'm not really sure. I would describe this mostly as a floral dominant fragrance with a little bit of fruitiness and this soft, gentle, musky woodiness in the base. And it is one of my most highly feminine, glorious fragrances and worth every penny of retail, although you can get this on sale quite often on discounters. Everything that I talk about here, I will absolutely try to find you a link and put it in the description box for you to shop if you would like. And if not, that's fine too. But this is Accento Overdose, the best special occasion. In the category of sexiest, and this one had competitors this month, I actually asked my husband to scan everything I wore this month. His poor nose was like, give me a break after sniffing all these fragrances and tell me which one he thought was the sexiest. And he kept coming back to Dahab from Kajal. One of my favorites from this house. I also own Juri, which is beautiful, very sort of honeyed rose fragrance. And I want Icon or Aisan or Icon. I don't know how you say that. Another beautiful fragrance that has some similarities to this one. And then there's Lamar, which is known for its pineapple notes. I don't have that one. I found that one a tad bit masculine for me. This is one of my favorites from the house. The dominant notes here are this really sort of juicy, luscious passion fruit that has like a sidekick of this crisp apple note. And there's a lot of sexy muskiness in the base, a little drop of like patchouli, a little drop of woodiness that gives this like an anchor to sit on. But that muskiness is dominant here. It's a very sexy, alluring musk, crowned by the fruitiness of the passion fruit, a deep, dark, very sultry, sexy fruitiness. And this is just delightful. Friends, this sticks to you like none other. It projects quite nicely and it lasts a very, very long time and is an alluring fragrance. You do have to enjoy a good, sexy, deep musk to like this fragrance. If you are musk averse, you probably want to stay away from this. If you are not afraid and you like fruity musks, this is definitely one to try. Very sexy. And I love these bottles. Very creative. In the category of biggest surprise, I didn't buy a full bottle of this. I just bought a 1 ounce when it was on sale. This is Gorgeous by Michael Kors. Let me tell you a little bit about this fragrance. First of all, I love the ad campaign for this. I forget how the song went, but it was like, New York City girl, da, 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 like almost like a Showtimey song. And it was this girl in her suit with her hair just flowing in the wind, marching around New York City, living her best life. And so I associate that with this fragrance. The reason that this is a biggest surprise is because this has been sitting in my collection for a while. Here and there, I'll spritz it. And I actually did this really sort of intentional full day wear recently here in September, doused myself in this. And this is one of the fragrances that my husband loved the most on me. That's the part that surprised me. I thought he would think it was just nice. Like, oh, that's nice. No, he continued to follow me around the house when I wore this and wanted to sniff me more. The dominant notes in here are tuberose. Now that I think about it, he loves tuberose on me. And so that shouldn't have surprised me. That shouldn't have surprised me. Tuberose. And then there is a warm tobacco note that is barely perceptible. Like if you smell this fragrance from the atomizer, you will not say to yourself, oh, it's got a tobacco note. But when you know that it's in there, you realize the nice sort of warm coziness that the tobacco offers and like this sultriness to like a cozy sultriness or sultry coziness. And then there are other notes like other florals and a little bit of woodiness. The dominant note is tuberose, followed by that very sort of soft, warm tobacco. So this is a warm, sensual, cozy fragrance. It longevity-wise, I would say was maybe like in the 4 to 6-ish hour range, but it had a nice projection while it lasted. And apparently was like the Pied Piper here in this house, had my husband following me. Even my son, who is so picky about fragrances on me, even he told me that I smelled really good when I was wearing this. And he was not feeling well that day. And you know how when you're not feeling well, there are fragrances that can just make you like, you feel nauseous when you smell other people's perfume. He wasn't feeling well and he pointed to this as smelling really good on me. So anyway, that was a nice, pleasant surprise. This one is actually on Joma's shop for sale, the big one now. Anyway, so I'll link that all in the description box for you. I can't believe I forgot to bring the next bottle in because it is the best bottle, and it is Dolce Amalfi from Xerjoff. So you just have to look at the picture for now because I'm comfortable in my chair and I really don't want to get up and go to the other room and grab it. The color of this bottle makes me very happy. There's just something really special about the tone and the depth of the sort of yellowy orange or orangey yellow that's on this bottle with the little tassel, the shape of it. All of that is a really, I don't know, it just makes me happy. It brings a smile on my face when I reach for it. And I happen to absolutely adore the scent. This is a long-lasting beast mode scent, perfect all year round, and especially for fall. It's got a dominant note of clove, and it's done so beautifully here, balanced out with brightness and fruitiness from an apple note and a quince note. So think spicy and fruity. And then it's got these resinous touches from amber. I think there's a balsamic note that's in the fragrance, maybe a little bit of woodiness as well. And I call it my juicy fruit fragrance because it smells like the yellow juicy fruit gum with some spices added and some amber in the base. It's warm, it's cozy, it's enveloping, it's bright, it's happy, it's sexy, it's mysterious. It's like all of these things all at once. This fragrance is like a riddle wrapped in an enigma, and I love it for that. And I love that in front of all of that is just this happy, delightful, joyful feeling when I put it on. So I think it's the nostalgia that I associate with that gum scent. And yeah, I just love this fragrance. My favorite blind buy, which is a little bit surprising because I think I was almost ready to let go of this fragrance as soon as I purchased it. And this is why it is important to go on and do a full day wear and get acquainted with a fragrance before you judge it. And this is from Kayali, Vanilla Candy Rock Sugar. I think what happens with me with these Kayali fragrances is when they drop, people just overhype them so much that there's a part of my mind that kind of like rejects the overhype of it. And then I want to go in the opposite direction. And I end up trying some and liking some. I haven't loved all the Kayali fragrances that I've tried. There's merit to just about all of them. But anyway, I think that's what happens to me. That initial hype has me going, could it really be that great? Anyway, this one I did do a full day wear on a couple of times, actually. Well, I did an evening wear and a full day and then some trying here and there. Here's the other thing. Part of the reason, in my opinion, that you see these Kayali fragrances get sucked down so quickly is because the atomizer sprays out so much all at once. This is like a fire hose of an atomizer, so you can't help but spray out a bunch of it all at once. Anyway, people have said that this smells like Jean-Paul Gaultier La Belle, and I think that there is some truth to that. This one is a little bit more in the candy direction. Tells you notes on the back that Kayali wants you to notice. Candied pear, sweet violet, bubblegum, white caramel, rock sugar, and vanilla cream. This is a particularly candied pear, is what I would say to you. Like a cooked, let me put it the right way, a cooked candied pear that is very, very sweet. Almost like thick, syrupy sweetness almost. This is really delicious though. And it was long lasting on me. I really enjoyed it. It is like La Belle if you smell that. So think pear and vanilla tones. And I believe that that one has amber, if I'm not mistaken. I can't say that I really get anything in the bubblegum direction. Do I remember that from wearing it? I guess it doesn't matter. It smells like candy on you, like the sweetest candy with candied pear, like pear that has been cooked down and then sugar has been added on top. And it's almost like a compote style that you're getting ready to eat as dessert, that kind of a thing. Really, really good. And like I said, it was long lasting and I felt very pretty and very sexy and very sweet in this fragrance. So in that way, it was my favorite blind buy and maybe a big surprise also. In the category of not a safe blind buy is a gourmand hit. Some people really love it, but it is super strong and may not be what you're expecting. So this is Creme Brulee from Theodoros Kalotinis. And I have described this. See, I get it again. It's like undeniable for me, whether I sniff it from the cap or spray it on. This is supposed to be a coconut heavy fragrance that also smells like creme brulee, the dessert. We actually just had creme brulee. My husband makes a freaking fantastic creme brulee. He made it for my daughter's birthday. Each of the kids here, can I just talk to you all about something else for 2 seconds? Each of the kids, when it's their birthday, my husband asks them what kind of dessert they want. And he goes out of his way and spends the entire day baking or making the thing from scratch. So like my son just had a really elaborate red velvet cake. Our daughter wanted creme brulee. And then our oldest son, he likes chocolate cake. So my husband gets all the ingredients and he's in there baking he's in there like Martha Stewart. Just cooking it up. Anyway, we recently had creme brulee, and this doesn't really smell like creme brulee or make me think of creme brulee. So that said, what it does remind me of is a really deep, almost syrupy caramel with a touch of toffee and a heaping dose of butterscotch. That's how I describe this. If I know that I'm supposed to be smelling coconut, then my mind goes, oh, I guess that is like a really candied coconut type of deal. But that is really what I pick up. Caramel, toffee, butterscotch, and definitely a big heaping dose of vanilla in the base. It's almost sickeningly sweet. And that's why I say it's not a safe blind buy. And it's really strong for me anyway. It lasted all day and it comes on really powerful. So if you have Bianco Latte, and there's another fragrance that does this for me too, and I can't remember the name of it, but when I spray them on, another fragrance that does the same thing, you'll hear about it in a minute, is Hufflepuff. When I first spray them on, they sort of make me choke a little bit because they're so strong and there's like this airiness and powderiness to them that makes my throat dry for a few seconds. I get that from this too. And then it settles down into this really thick candy-like desserty fragrance. So not a safe blind buy because it's heavy and it's thick and it's maybe sickeningly sweet, but worth trying if you are a gourmand lover. Hear me out on the next fragrance because you're going to think that I'm speaking badly about this, and I'm absolutely not. I adore this fragrance, but I have a reason that I have this in the overhyped category. And this is Panettone from Milano Fragranze. Love this bottle. This could have been the best bottle too. One of the most unique out on the market. The reason that this is overhyped, I think, is because it is such a specific kind of smell that you either have an affinity and a memory association with the smell, or you don't, and it's going to smell weird to you. If you're familiar with the bread Panettone that comes out at the holidays, we just had a whole loaf from Costco and we went through that like rabid dogs. We love Panettone. I love to toast it and I love to put a little bit of butter on it and I love to just eat it, like just grab it straight out of the thing. It's like one of those sweet indulgences that, I mean, just messes with you because there's so much sugar in it that you're sitting there like, oh, this is so good. Anyway, it's a fluffy bread that is like almost candied in nature and it's got dried fruits in it. It's not like fruit bread. Like fruit bread is dense and thick. This is a fluffier bread. Like it's baked and it's so good. Anyway, this smells almost identical to Panettone. And the reason that I think it is overhyped is because there are some aspects of this that I think might be off-putting for some people. Like there is this almost like deep fermented fruity alcohol, like spirits, rum or something like that type of tone in here that if you're familiar with that in Panettone, it doesn't bother you. But if you're not, it might be a little bit weird coming out of here. And there's also this like candied citrus accord that I think might be off-putting for people. I happen to love it because it is like the bread for me and it's a nostalgic smell and I think it smells really good, but it's overhyped in that this is not a mass appealing fragrance. You have to like the smell of Panettone bread. And I'm talking about a condensed version of that smell, not like the airy, desserty smell. It's almost like a condensed type of interpretation of the Panettone bread smell. That said, if that is your thing, you may actually love this. So I would say get a decant and see what you think. But me and this one are hanging tough. And it's a feel good, happy, yummy scent when you put it on. In the category of hidden gem, I guess it's not that hidden in that the line of fragrances is talked about quite a bit, but there are some other stars from the line that catch people's attention, steal the show, and people don't really talk about this one. This is from New Notes, and this is called the Musk Complexity. And this is one that was sent to me by So Avant-Garde. They sent me the entire line of New Notes fragrances that I've done a review on. I can link that below if you're interested in seeing the entire line. And there are a few standouts for me. And this is one. I have to be in the mood for this fragrance because it is pretty strong and a sort of pretty specific kind of smell. For those of you that are familiar with Musk Ravageur from Frederic Malle, and if you like that kind of spicy muskiness, you might really enjoy this because they are very akin to each other, very similar. This is a fragrance that has this beautiful spicy citrus. Some of the key spices are ginger and cinnamon together. So if that right there appeals to you, this might be one to check out. And then there's a lot more happening in the fragrance that makes it a pretty complex. It just dawned on me, musk complexity, a pretty complex musk fragrance. I would say the main player in here is a musk as the base. There are other notes like some citruses that I mentioned, lemon and a few other notes. There's a hint of booziness. There is a touch of patchouli, a touch of woodiness. Some people are going to smell this and all they're going to get out of this is like old school, old spicy kind of smell. So I'm not talking to those folks. I'm talking to those of you that appreciate the Musk Ravageur types of fragrances. This one is really, really lovely and blooms on the skin beautifully. For me, it is a very cold weather fragrance. I wouldn't really think about wearing this in the heat, although I did wear it this summer, but I was in air conditioning, so I guess it didn't really matter. And it is, like I said, spicy, citrusy, a nice muskiness with hints of woodiness and something else that's like a tinge of earthiness, like a couple dots, like somebody just took a little, the guy that does the salt on the meat, they just took a little bit and they just sprinkled a little bit of earthiness on here. It's strong and it's long lasting. It's complex, a little bit mysterious, and highly, highly unisex. Some of you, again, that like feminine fragrances may consider this a little bit too masculine for you. But if you like Musk Ravageur, this is like a sure bet of a fragrance. Musk Complexity, hidden gem. In the category of worth hunting down, I was going to say it's Ambre Oud Rouge from Al Haramain, which is a BR 540, maybe X-Straight dupe. I can never tell if it's a dupe of the X-Straight or the original. I don't remember. But either way, really good fragrance. I did wear this, but this is actually fairly readily available, I think, on discounters. The one that may be a little bit harder to hunt down, this is also on discounters, is from Issey Miyake. This is L'Eau d'Issey Pure Nectar. So there are different varieties of these flankers, and the way that you can tell this one, it doesn't have any of the floral demarcations on it. It has an ombre effect in that there's like this bronzy, coppery bottom that gradually becomes just the glass. Okay, and so this fragrance has a touch of honey, but it's really characterized by these fresh florals, rose and peony, and I think some other white florals as well. It has the aquatic touches that the regular L'Eau de Issey, the original from back in the 90s, that we all loved and went crazy over. I still have a bottle of that. It has that same DNA, like the background, but there is this beautiful, like luscious femininity that comes forward through those gorgeous florals. Peony heavy for me, peony heavy, and a touch of sweetness from this bit of honey running through it. It's so delightful. Husband loves this on me. Actually, all the kids compliment me when I wear this fragrance. I think it's very feminine and it's very unique, and it's got that airy aquatic nature that's from the original that is just, it makes it a unique fragrance. And you can get this super duper discounted. I believe I bought this in like the $40-ish range, and is one that I would likely think about repurchasing if I ran out of it. Really, really good. Fantastic fragrance. Next, we come to the low, medium, and high category fragrances of the month that I haven't already talked about. And in the low, I have two. One that is a little bit surprising to me. I put this on my tray of up and coming fragrances that I want to wear. And I wanted to get to know this one again because I haven't worn it in a while and see if it's one that I wanted to stay in my collection. So this is from Paris Monte Carlo, and this is Ylang Ylang Nosy Bee, which I still contend is a very creamy yellow floral with a lot of sort of mysterious touches to it. This is like almost like a buttery ylang ylang. Without looking at the notes, because I don't remember what the notes are, I want to say it has something like a very luxurious patchouli and vanilla and a woodiness in the base. Gosh, it's such a like luxurious type of fragrance. When I first spray it on, it's a little off-putting. And the reason that it's in the low category is because it was disliked in my house, and it has been disliked. Like, this is one I've had a few years, and the few times that I've dared to wear it, because it is a very daring fragrance, it's just, it doesn't get good reception here in my house. And so from that perspective, I'm less interested in this now. And I also tried Ylang d'Or from the Maison du Rock line that is sold out on So Avant-Garde. And I'm thinking of picking up that bottle. And it's like this, except even more luxurious than it. And maybe doesn't have some of the bizarreness that this has in the opening. Like that one, when I sampled that one, the Ylang d'Or, my husband has loved that. This one, he's like, I don't know what I think about that. He kind of turns up his nose a little bit at it. And it takes a while to get to the dry down, to the really beautiful, mysterious parts of it. This is almost like it's buttery to the point of almost maybe even being a little bit like unctuous, like slightly oily in the way that it reads to your nose. If you like a really luscious, dark, nearly indolic, yellow, tropical floral type of deal, you might enjoy Ylang Ylang Nosy Bee. I think we're going to be parting ways so that I can make room for that other one. But yeah. And then the other one in the low category, and I'm surprised because I thought I was going to love wearing this again. This is Kiss Don't Be Shy from Alexandria Fragrances. I have at this point listed most of my dupe fragrances on Mercari for personal reasons. I don't have any problems with dupes. I have problems with certain kinds of dupes, and I've talked about that in other videos. I won't mention it here. People get all their panties all in a bunch when you start talking about things like that, and they get defensive and want to accuse you of this and that and whatever. I don't have any problems with expensive, inexpensive fragrances. I don't have any problems with dupes or originals or inspired by or whatever. The only fragrances I really have a problem with are counterfeits. And I'm talking about fragrances that are made to look like the original, that trick the consumer into thinking they're buying the original. I will never support counterfeits. But anyway, I'm getting into a whole tangent here, friends, that I didn't mean to get into. For myself, I have moved away from dupe fragrances. And honestly, what it comes down to is mostly because I end up just buying the original at some point down the line anyway. So I'm just going to save myself the money and the trouble and go for the original if I like it. Although I do have a few dupes like this one that are hanging tough in my collection and that I really enjoy. That said, this fragrance is another one that was not well received. It's supposed to be a dupe of Love Don't Be Shy. I was going to say by Rihanna. That's not a Rihanna fragrance, but people associate it with Rihanna. By Kilian. I've tried the original Love Don't Be Shy. I've tried the extreme version. I may want to revisit the original at some point, but this one was not appreciated in my house either when I wore it. And so anyway, it's listed on Mercari if anybody's interested. The vanilla in here is nice and aged at this point. And we all know about Love Don't Be Shy. Vanillic, marshmallowy, almost a little bit fruity pebble smelling, very sweet. In the middle category are three fragrances that I'm really enjoying, and they're here because of either projection or longevity, but I like all of these. And I'm going to start with the gorgeous Oris Vanille from the new Banana Republic private collection. It's called Collezione Riservata, which I believe just means like reserved collection, private collection. And this was also sent to me by So Avant-Garde along with two others in the collection here. And this was my favorite of the bunch. This is so happy and bright and yet warm and cozy at the same time. It's got this nice sort of buttery orris, which is like a powdery fragrance note. But for me, in here, it comes across kind of buttery. What I mean by that is that the powderiness has some density and even creaminess to it, but it's still kind of powdery, which I know sounds like a contradiction. And it's got this bright sort of apple tone to it. I think it's apple blossom that is the note that is featured, but it comes across as bright and happy, fruity, almost like a fruity shampoo type of note. Love it. And then in the base, there's vanilla and some nice creamy woodiness. I find this so delightful, so interesting. Some may find this probably a tiny bit masculine because of the woody notes. I find it to be actually leaning in the sweet feminine territory the more that I try this out. I really enjoy the apple note in here. It's both cozy, like nighttime, maybe soft, subtle date night, or even like a bedtime scent with the brightness from the apple that I just think is so beautiful. And it makes me go, when I spray it on, like, this feels like such a good fragrance. So Oris Vanille, super duper delightful. I felt like it didn't last the longest. Like it was like a half day fragrance. Nothing wrong with that. I don't have any problems with that, especially at this price point. I think this retails for right over $100 or so for the full bottle. And it's delightful. Next is one that I actually purchased the oil for. So forgive me, I'm being repetitive here by talking about this fragrance since it's had some playtime in recent videos. And that is Missing Person from Fleur. This is one of those delightful, your skin but better types of fragrances. If you think about those kind of ambroxan types of fragrances that feel like they're one note wonders, it's a little bit of that. It's like almost like a sweet woodiness in the fragrance. This is one of those fragrances that is a little bit peekaboo, especially for those of us that are a little bit older and our sense of smell isn't as strong as when we were young. You may smell this sometimes, you may not smell it at other times. I've had that experience with this fragrance. I purchased the oil as the base for it. The oil is oily, very slick. And I use that as a base to put this on top. Anyway, when I smell this, I enjoy it. When I don't smell it, I want to smell it. So it's that. And that's why it's in the middle category. I still like it and love these adorable little bottles that I talked trash about for a little bit because I didn't think they were as cute as they are in hand. And last in the middle category is a fragrance that I think is absolutely beautiful. Does not have the best longevity. I wouldn't say it's short-lived. I got a good half day out of this, but something had to go in the middle category. So we're going to talk about this one as that. And this is Flamme. And so I think it's pronounced like an O. Someone taught me this in the comments, whoever that was, thank you, Flamme. And it's supposed to represent the feeling of a Scandinavian village. So I would describe this as a floral fragrance that has vanillic and ambery touches to it. The dominant note is a really well-behaved, beautiful jasmine. And I say well-behaved because people are really funny about jasmine and they feel like it's overpowering or it's too dirty smelling for them. This is a very feminine, beautiful jasmine. I love the way that the floral note plays well with this nice, soft, easygoing, almost like a fuzzy vanilla and an ambery base. This is very feminine, very pretty as a fragrance. Husband loved this on me. It's one that I think I'm going to really enjoy wearing more and more. But, I'm not going to be expecting it to last all day. It's a little bit softer to the skin. It's not quite as soft to the skin as like the Fleur Missing Person, which, you have to be close up on someone to get any sort of whiff of this. No, this is a nice soft scent bubble around you, but it's moderate in performance. Nothing wrong with that, but that's why it's in the middle category. Then I have 5 top fragrances for the month that I've not already mentioned because some of the others could be in the top as well. Ambre Magique by Mise en Cire is probably my favorite from this house. I've tried others, but this is this absolutely gorgeous, really sophisticated, smooth, well-rounded vanilla amber fragrance with some touches of saltiness, like a little sprinkle of like a salty flavor and some spices. There's cardamom in the fragrance along with a hint of citrus to brighten the whole thing up. I find this to just be so sophisticated and delightful. Like if you like Absolute Aphrodisiac from Initio, which is absolutely gorgeous as a vanilla fragrance, if you think about that as like a nighttime version, this might be your daytime boss lady or boss man or whatever. Any one of those kinds of terms you want to put on these sorts of fragrances type of deal. I wouldn't hesitate to wear this to work. I don't find it off-putting at all or overpowering. I mean, anything can be overpowering if you spray too much of it, but if you spray just the right amount, this is this elegant, sweet and bright and ambery. So it's warm and cozy at the same time, slightly spicy fragrance that is beautiful for fall and winter and gentle enough to wear in the summer also. Next is Acro Bake, which I'm enjoying wearing. You know, this is one of those fragrances. It smells like lemon cake or a lemon cupcake or like a lemon custard type of deal, depending on the day and how much humidity is in the air. I find the lemon that's in here light and bright and fluffy, and the tartness of the lemon is so beautifully balanced by these sugary tones in the fragrance. It's airy, it's wispy. I know what it smells like a lemon sponge cake. When you think about sponge cake as having like a squishiness and an airiness to it, this fragrance sort of embodies that. It doesn't have the heaviness and the thickness of like Devotion from Dolce & Gabbana, which is also gorgeous and in the same family. This one is airier and fluffier as a fragrance. Lemon and sugar and a beautiful vanilla, and it can do no wrong. I can spray myself down in this all day long. I'm not going to offend anyone. A little bit lighter wearing, like closer to the skin, and doesn't have super longevity, which this has been criticized for. You might get 4 hours out of this, but I just love it. Another lemon vanilla fragrance, and this one has coconut tones, and I believe there are fruity tones like peachy tones and so forth in here. The beautiful Hufflepuff. I finally finished the entire Harry Potter series, and I am so proud of myself. The whole movie series, there were some scenes in there, y'all, that made me just cry. Whew. It wasn't just a happy-go-lucky series I was expecting. I never read the books, so I didn't know all of the darkness in the Harry Potter series, but I got so attached to all the characters. But Hufflepuff, we all know and love Hufflepuff from House of Sillage. One of the airiest, fluffiest, lemony, vanilla, slightly fruity, coconutty, and it's an airy coconut fragrances out there on the market. Super duper girly. Great for like super young girls, but also fabulous for really anyone into any stage of life. And it's just so delightful, and love the cupcakes. This could have easily been best bottle, but I mean, hello. Of course we know that's the best bottle. I also really enjoyed Psychedelic Love from Initio, which you've heard about in other videos, so I won't go on and on. This is one of the, you know what? This has a lot in common with the florals in Flum. Beautiful, feminine, delightful, light florals that just kind of, they're wispy and they call you in. They're like, come here, smell my beautiful hair that smells like flowers or something. And there's almond and some powderiness. And I believe there's vanilla in the fragrance as well. It's delicate, it's ladylike, but it's with girly touches. This is like, it's all things fluffy, but not pink. They're beige in color because of the almondiness and the powderiness in here. But imagine girly fluffiness with lots of creamy beigey tones in it and florals. That's what this fragrance makes me think of. And it's nice and delicate, but does have longevity. It won't knock anyone out though. It won't offend anyone. This is absolutely beautiful and it just never fails. And then I can never remember all the notes in this fragrance, but I absolutely enjoyed wearing Kilian's Princess. I don't need a prince by my side to be a princess. This one has these beautiful, cozy tea notes, this fluffiness to it. It has almost like this marshmallowy texture with like a green jasmine type of tea. I believe there's ginger or some other spice like that in the fragrance that lends this zingy brightness, but it's just cozy sweater weather prettiness. It's sweet and it's beautiful and it's soft and it's delicate and it's inviting and it has gourmand tones to it without being like overtly gourmand. I was trying to end this video overtly gourmand. Definitely one to get your nose on. So delicious, so good. Is it cardamom and ginger that's in the fragrance? I don't remember, but there's like a soft, delicate spiciness to this that I really, really adore. Friends, that brings me to the end of my September fragrances. Would love to hear from you what your favorite fragrances from September were. If you made it to the end of the video, can you put a ghost in the comments if you have that emoji, because we're heading into October. I can't wait for spooky season of October, one of my favorite times of the year in addition to fall overall. So thank you if you hung with me for this long. I appreciate you. See you in the next video. Take care, friends.